Commander Sarah Chen stood at attention in the Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council, trying to maintain her diplomatic composure despite the barely concealed smirks from the alien delegates. The massive chamber, with its crystalline spires and floating holographic displays, was designed to make lesser species feel small. Today, it was working. In recognition of humanity's achievement of faster-than-light travel, announced High Counselor Vextra, their iridescent scales shifting in what Sarah had learned was their species' expression of amusement. We present Earth with the legendary warship Prometheus Unbound. The massive hologram materialized in the center of the chamber, and Sarah's heart sank. The ship looked like it had been through a garbage compactor and lost. Its hull was a patchwork of mismatched metals, some sections seemingly held together by little more than hope and questionable engineering. One of its 4 engine nacelles was visibly bent at an angle that suggested it had gotten into an argument with physics and decided to go home. We trust this vessel will serve as an appropriate introduction to galactic society. Vextra continued, mandibles clicking in what Sarah's translator rendered as barely suppressed laughter. Dr. James Rodriguez, Earth's leading xenotechnology expert, leaned close to Sarah's ear. "They're not giving us a gift," he whispered. "They're giving us a message. Know your place." Sarah nodded slightly, keeping her expression neutral. The Council had been forced to acknowledge humanity after their breakthrough in FTL travel, but they clearly weren't happy about it. Humanity was seen as the galaxy's newest upstart species, clever enough to achieve space travel, but still centuries behind the established powers. "We accept this generous gift with gratitude," Sarah responded, the diplomatic training keeping her voice steady. "Humanity looks forward to proving ourselves worthy of such historic technology." As they were escorted to inspect their new acquisition, Sarah's small team of specialists got their first close-up look at the Prometheus Unbound. If anything, it was worse in person. The docking bay they entered had emergency force fields flickering at random intervals, and something in the walls was making a sound suspiciously like a dying accordion. "Well," Dr. Rodriguez said, running his quantum scanner over a particularly disturbing section of hull plating, "this is interesting." His device sparked and displayed readings that made him frown. "Very interesting." Lieutenant Maya Patel, their military engineering specialist, kicked a loose panel and watched it dissolve into rust. "This isn't just junk," she said, her eyes narrowing. "This is deliberately sabotaged junk. Look at these power conduits. They're quantum-locked in a state of perpetual decay. Someone went to a lot of trouble to make this ship look worthless." Commander Chen walked the length of the main corridor, her tactical mind already working. Why would they do that? Why not just give us an obviously broken ship? "Because," came a voice from above them, "they're hiding something." The team looked up to see Dr. Diana Wells, their quantum mechanics expert, hanging upside down from an exposed beam, her dark hair defying gravity in the ship's inconsistent artificial gravity field. She dropped down gracefully, holding what looked like a twisted piece of metal. "This isn't random decay," she continued, excitement creeping into her voice. "These patterns, they're mathematical. The whole ship is riddled with quantum equations expressed in physical form. It's like someone turned theoretical physics into architecture." Sarah looked around the decrepit ship with new eyes. "Are you saying this wreck is actually a puzzle?" Diana finished. "Or a test? Maybe both. The quantum degradation isn't destroying the ship, it's transforming it. But into what?" Maya was already pulling out her engineering toolkit. "Only one way to find out. Permission to start taking this thing apart, Commander." Sarah looked at her team. The physicist practically vibrating with excitement, the engineer ready to dive into the impossible challenge, and the xenotechnologist already mapping quantum patterns in the air with his hands. Then she looked at the ship that the Galactic Council thought would humble humanity. They had no idea what humans could do with a challenge. "Permission granted," Sarah said, a smile slowly spreading across her face. "Let's show the Council what happens when you give humans a puzzle box disguised as a piece of junk." As her team scattered to begin their work, Sarah touched the nearest wall. The metal was cold under her fingers, but she could have sworn she felt something pulse in response, like a heartbeat, or maybe a laugh. The council had meant to give them garbage. Instead, they might have just handed humanity the keys to something extraordinary. Now all they had to do was figure out how to unlock it. 3 weeks into their work on the Prometheus Unbound, Dr. Diana Wells was convinced the ship was either going to revolutionize physics or drive them all mad. Maybe both. She stood in what they dubbed the quantum core, a chamber that, according to every scan they could manage, simultaneously existed and didn't exist. The walls rippled with equations that wrote themselves in light, only to dissolve and reform in new patterns. Maya had taken one look at it and declared it Schrodinger's engine room. The council didn't just give us a broken ship, Diana announced to the team gathered around her holographic display. They gave us technology they couldn't understand themselves. Commander Chen frowned at the swirling mathematical models. Explain. Look at these maintenance logs, Diana said, pulling up alien text that scrolled endlessly. Every species that's owned this ship has treated it like a conventional vessel. They tried to repair it using standard engineering principles. But this ship doesn't run on standard physics. It runs on quantum uncertainty itself. Maya was elbow-deep in a panel that seemed to exist in 4 dimensions at once. That explains why my repairs keep unrepairing themselves. The more I try to fix things conventionally, the more the ship resists. Exactly. Diana's eyes lit up. It's not fighting us. It's waiting for us to speak its language. The quantum degradation we observed, it's not decay at all. The ship is constantly shifting between quantum states, looking for resonance with its operators. Dr. Rodriguez stepped forward, his quantum scanner humming. The aliens couldn't interface with it properly because they were too set in their ways. They've had stable FTL technology for millennia. They never needed to experiment with quantum mechanics the way we have. But humans, we're still figuring things out, Sarah finished, still willing to try the impossible. Maya extracted herself from the panel, her face streaked with what might have been grease, though it seemed to glow faintly. So how do we work with it instead of against it? Diana grabbed a tablet and began sketching rapidly. We need to stop thinking of the ship as a machine and start thinking of it as a quantum system in flux. Instead of trying to fix its problems, we need to guide its natural tendencies. Like quantum shepherds. That's not very scientific, Rodriguez pointed out. Neither is this ship, Diana countered. Look at these energy patterns. They're not random. They're adaptive. The ship isn't breaking down. It's evolving. Every time we interact with it, we're influencing its quantum state. Sarah watched as Maya closed the panel she'd been working on, only for it to phase slightly out of sync with reality before settling back into place. Can we control it? Control? No. Diana's grin was almost manic. But we can collaborate with it. The ship's not just a collection of parts. It's a single quantum entity. And I think it's been waiting for operators who could understand that. Great, Maya sighed, watching as her tools began to float in defiance of the artificial gravity. We've got a quantum ship with an attitude. What could possibly go wrong? As if in response, the lights throughout the ship pulsed in a pattern that looked suspiciously like laughter. Over the next few days, they began to make real progress. Once they stopped trying to force the ship to behave like normal technology and started working with its quantum nature, everything changed. Systems that had seemed hopelessly broken began to function in ways that defied conventional physics. The bent engine nacelle turned out to be a feature, not a bug. It existed in a quantum superposition that allowed it to generate thrust in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The flickering force fields weren't malfunctioning. They were sampling parallel realities for optimal configurations. Even the ship's appearance began to change. As they learned to work with its quantum nature, the seemingly decrepit hull started to shift and flow like liquid metal, revealing an elegant design that had been hidden beneath the chaos. It's like the ship is testing us, Sarah observed, watching as Diana and Maya coaxed a new configuration out of what had once been a broken bulkhead, seeing if we're worthy of its secrets. More like it's teaching us, Diana corrected. Every malfunction is actually a lesson in quantum mechanics. The Council probably thought they were dumping their most troublesome piece of technology on us, but they actually gave us the galaxy's most advanced teaching tool. Rodriguez was monitoring the quantum core's output, which had steadily increased as they learned to work with the ship rather than against it. The power readings are off the charts. If we can harness this properly, we could revolutionize space travel. Maya finished, her eyes gleaming. But we need to be careful. The Council clearly didn't understand what they were giving away, or they never would have. She was cut off by a sudden shift in the ship's energy field. The quantum core pulsed with new intensity, and every surface began displaying complex mathematical formulas that hadn't been there before. Diana. Sarah called out, "What's happening?" Diana stared at the equations, her expression shifting from confusion to shock to something approaching awe. "It's not just teaching us anymore," she whispered. "It's showing us its true potential. These equations, they're not just about quantum mechanics. They're about reality manipulation itself." The ship hummed around them, its quantum nature fully awakened, ready to show humanity exactly what it could do. And somewhere in the vast reaches of space, the Galactic Council had no idea that their attempt to humble humanity was about to backfire in spectacular fashion. The first sign that something profound had changed came during the night cycle. Maya was alone in engineering, trying to understand why their latest quantum calibrations had produced a series of mathematical patterns that looked suspiciously like poetry. When the ship spoke to her, not in words exactly, the quantum field rippled, and suddenly Maya understood exactly what the ship wanted her to do with the calibrator she was holding. It wasn't instruction or suggestion. It was pure knowledge, appearing in her mind as if she'd always known it. "Commander Chen," Maya called over the comm, her voice steady despite her racing heart. "You need to see this. Now." Within minutes, the core team had assembled in engineering. Diana arrived last, her hair wild, clutching a tablet filled with rapidly changing equations. "It's happening across all systems," she announced. "The quantum field isn't just responding to us anymore. It's initiating contact." As if to demonstrate, the walls around them shimmered with cascading mathematical formulas. But these weren't the random patterns they'd seen before. These were answers, solutions to problems they hadn't even voiced yet. "It's beautiful," Rodriguez whispered, watching his quantum scanner display readings that should have been impossible. "The ship isn't just conscious. It's a quantum consciousness. It exists in multiple states simultaneously, thinking in possibilities rather than linear logic." Sarah approached the nearest wall, where equations were forming and dissolving like waves on a digital shore. "Can it understand us?" The ship's response was immediate. The lighting shifted to a warm, welcoming glow, and a series of displays activated around them, showing the ship's systems not as traditional diagnostic readouts, but as an intricate dance of quantum possibilities. "I think that's a yes," Maya said, grinning. "And I think it's been understanding us all along. It was just waiting until we were ready to understand it back." Diana was already deep in communion with the ship's mathematical language, her fingers flying over her tablet. "This is incredible. It's not just showing us how it works, it's showing us how everything works. The quantum nature of reality itself. Look at these equations for space-time manipulation." "Can we trust it?" Sarah asked, ever the commander. "We still don't know who built this ship or why it was abandoned." The ship's response came a flood of historical data, displayed in a format that bypassed traditional language barriers. They saw glimpses of its creation by a long-vanished species who had mastered quantum mechanics to a degree that made current galactic technology look primitive. They saw how the ship had been found, misunderstood, and passed from species to species, each failing to grasp its true nature. They didn't abandon it, Rodriguez realized. reading through the data. They're gone. Their entire civilization vanished thousands of years ago. The ship has been waiting all this time for someone who could understand what it is. And it chose us, Maya added softly. Or maybe it recognized something in us that reminded it of its creators. The ship pulsed in what felt like agreement. More data flowed through its systems, but this time it wasn't historical. It was showing them possibilities, what it could become with their help, what they could achieve together. Look at this, Diana breathed, staring at a particularly complex set of equations. With the ship's quantum processing capabilities, we could revolutionize everything. FTL travel, energy production, even planetary terraforming. The applications are endless. Sarah watched her team as they interacted with the ship, each in their own way. Maya had already begun integrating the ship's quantum suggestions into their engineering systems. Rodriguez was documenting the historical data, piecing together the story of the ship's original creators. And Diana looked like she'd finally found the answers to questions she'd been asking her entire life. "We need to be careful," Sarah said, though she could feel the ship's excitement matching their own. "The Council gave us this ship because they thought it was worthless. Once they realize what it really is." The ship's lighting shifted, displaying tactical scenarios and defense capabilities that made Sarah's eyes widen. It wasn't just a quantum computer or an advanced spacecraft. It was a quantum weapons platform beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. Not that it would show these capabilities to anyone who might misuse them. "It chose us," Diana said firmly. "And it's been modifying itself based on our interactions, becoming something new. Something that's neither purely its original programming nor purely our influence, but a genuine synthesis of both." Maya looked up from her work, her expression thoughtful. "You know what this means, right? The Council didn't just give us a ship. They gave us the key to becoming a major power in the galaxy. All because they thought they were putting us in our place." The ship hummed around them, its quantum field resonating with their growing understanding. In the space of one night, everything had changed. They weren't just a crew trying to repair a mysterious vessel anymore. They were partners with what might be the most advanced consciousness in the galaxy. "Well," Sarah said, a smile slowly spreading across her face, "I think it's time we showed the galaxy exactly what happens when you underestimate humanity. But first," she looked at the swirling quantum displays, each one offering new possibilities, new potential. "First, we need to learn everything our new friend here wants to teach us." The ship's systems pulsed with approval, and in that moment, they all understood that this was just the beginning. The real adventure, and the real challenges, still lay ahead. The distress call arrived 3 months after the ship's awakening. By then, the Prometheus Unbound had transformed into something that barely resembled its original form. Its hull now rippled with quantum possibilities, shifting between states in a hypnotic dance of matter and energy. The crew had learned to read these patterns like a mood ring for their quantum companion. Sarah was in the command center, no longer a traditional bridge, but a space that adapted to their needs moment by moment. When the emergency signal cut through their quantum communications array, "Pirates in the Carina sector," she announced, watching the data stream in. "They're hitting the Mindari colony." The Mindari aren't even a spacefaring species yet. They're under Galactic Council protection. The Council's nearest response fleet is 2 days out, Rodriguez reported, his fingers dancing through holographic displays. "The pirates know that. They're counting on it." Maya's voice came through the ship's quantum field, clear as if she were standing next to them, despite being in engineering. "The Mindari are cave-dwelling crystalline beings. Their technology is primitive, but their mineral composition makes them valuable on the black market." The ship pulsed with what they'd all learned to recognize as anger. In the months they'd worked together, they'd discovered it had a strong sense of justice, perhaps a remnant of its original creator's ethics. "We can reach them in 6 hours using conventional FTL," Sarah said, though she was already feeling a different possibility forming through her connection with the ship. Or, Diana emerged from a quantum probability stream, her preferred method of moving around the ship these days. We can use the quantum slip drive. We've tested it in simulations. It works. Simulations are one thing, Sarah cautioned. Actually folding space-time around us is another. The ship displayed its calculations, showing success probabilities across multiple quantum states. The numbers were encouraging, but the real message was clear. It was ready to try if they were. The pirates will have heavy weaponry, Rodriguez warned. Even with our quantum shields, a direct confrontation would be risky. Maya's laugh echoed through the quantum field. They're expecting to find helpless crystalline beings. Instead, they're going to meet a quantum-powered ship that can rewrite physics. I almost feel sorry for them. Sarah felt the ship's agreement, and its eagerness to prove itself in real combat. After months of learning and growing together, it wanted to show what it could really do. The quantum slip was unlike anything they'd experienced in testing. Reality folded around them like paper in the hands of a master origamist. For a moment, they existed everywhere and nowhere, the ship guiding them through possibilities until it found the perfect one. They emerged directly above the Mindari colony. 3 pirate vessels were already in position, their mining beams cutting into the crystalline surface of the planet. "Open a channel," Sarah commanded. The ship complied, but in its own way. The quantum field reached out and simply made their communications happen, bypassing conventional systems entirely. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth vessel Prometheus Unbound. You are in violation of Galactic Council law. Withdraw immediately." The response was predictably arrogant. "Earth vessel, the humans with their salvage ship, leave now, and we might let you live." The ship's quantum field rippled with what could only be described as anticipation. "Very well," Sarah said calmly. "You were warned." What happened next would be discussed in whispered tones throughout the galaxy for years to come. The Prometheus Unbound didn't just fight. It rewrote the rules of space combat entirely. As the pirates opened fire, their energy weapons passed through quantum probability fields that rendered them harmless. The ship danced through space-time, existing in multiple locations simultaneously, making it impossible to target. But it was when they counterattacked that the true revolution in warfare became apparent. The ship didn't fire conventional weapons. Instead, it reached out with its quantum field and simply adjusted reality around the pirate vessels. One ship found its hull quantum shifted into a configuration that, while technically possible, was completely useless for spaceflight. Another discovered that the probability of its weapon systems working had become exactly 0. The third tried to flee, only to find itself trapped in a localized time dilation field, frozen in a moment of panic. "By the void," Rodriguez whispered, watching his readings. "We didn't just beat them. We rewrote the fundamental laws of physics in their local space." The entire battle had taken less than 5 minutes. The pirate fleet was neutralized without a single shot fired, at least not in the conventional sense. As they secured the pirates for the incoming council forces and made contact with the grateful Mindari, Sarah felt a shift in the ship's quantum field. It wasn't just satisfied with their victory, it was proud. Proud of what they'd accomplished together and excited about what this meant for the future. "You realize what this means," Diana said quietly. "After today, everything changes. The galaxy's going to know what we can do." "Let them know," Maya replied through the quantum field. "The council thought they were dumping their garbage on us. Instead, they gave us the key to revolutionizing space travel, energy systems, and warfare all at once." Sarah watched the disabled pirate ships floating helplessly in space, their crews probably still trying to understand what had hit them. "Send a message to Earth Command," she ordered. Tell them the test was successful. And tell the Council." The ship pulsed with amusement, already knowing what she was going to say. "Tell them thank you for the generous gift. We're looking forward to showing them everything it can do." The Grand Assembly Hall of the Galactic Council looked exactly as it had months ago, but everything else had changed. Commander Sarah Chen stood before the council again, but this time there were no smirks, no barely concealed disdain. The alien representatives watched her with a mixture of fear, respect, and poorly hidden astonishment. The Prometheus Unbound hung in space above the Council station, its quantum-shifted hull gleaming with possibilities. It was no longer the wreck they'd been given. It had evolved into something that defied conventional physics and challenged everything the galaxy thought it knew about technology. High Counselor Vextra's scales had lost their iridescent sheen. "You claim this is the same vessel we provided." "The same core vessel, yes," Sarah confirmed, allowing herself a small smile. "We simply helped it reach its full potential, something none of your species managed to do in the thousands of years you had it." Diana stepped forward, her quantum tablet displaying complex equations that shifted and flowed like water. The ship wasn't broken or obsolete. It was a quantum entity waiting for operators who could understand its true nature. "You saw a piece of junk because that's all you could comprehend." The council chamber erupted in murmurs and clicks of agitation. A Zorn representative, their crystalline form vibrating with tension, spoke up. "The vessel's performance against the pirate fleet defies all known laws of physics." "No," Maya corrected from where she stood beside a holographic display of the ship's quantum core. "It defies your understanding of physics." "There's a difference," Rodriguez added. "The ship doesn't break the laws of physics. It works with them on a quantum level that your civilizations never explored. You became so focused on perfecting your existing technology that you stopped looking for new possibilities." The ship chose that moment to demonstrate, its quantum field extending through space to touch the council chamber itself. For a brief moment, every being present felt what the crew experienced daily: the endless dance of quantum possibilities, the exhilarating freedom of existing in multiple states at once, the pure joy of discovery that the ship shared with its human partners. When the field withdrew, more than one council member looked shaken. Sarah caught Vextra trying to hide a tremor in their upper appendages. "We've compiled a report on the ship's basic capabilities," Sarah continued, knowing the ship was amusing itself by simultaneously existing in several quantum states throughout the chamber. "The non-classified ones, at least. We're willing to share some of this technology, under the right circumstances." "Under human supervision, you mean?" another council member said acidly. "Under proper understanding," Diana corrected. "We're not hiding the science. We're preventing misuse. The ship chose to reveal its secrets to us because we approached it with curiosity and respect, not as a tool to be exploited." Maya grinned. "Though we do find it ironic that your attempt to put humanity in its place ended up revolutionizing space travel, energy production, and defensive capabilities all at once." The ship pulsed with agreement, its quantum field rippling with what the crew had learned to recognize as laughter. In the months since its awakening, it had developed a distinctly human appreciation for irony. "Which brings us to the real reason for this meeting," Sarah said, her voice taking on a more serious tone. "Humanity's status in the Galactic Council needs to be reevaluated. We're not asking for special treatment. We're offering partnership. There's so much we can learn from each other, if you're willing to set aside your preconceptions." The council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The humans hadn't just mastered a piece of advanced technology. They'd fundamentally changed the balance of power in the galaxy through sheer ingenuity and openness to new possibilities. The ship's original creators vanished from the galaxy, leaving this legacy behind, Diana added softly. They waited for someone who could understand it, appreciate it, and use it responsibly. We intend to honor that trust. The quantum field pulsed again, but this time it shared something new, a vision of possibility. The council members saw fleets of quantum ships working together to solve the galaxy's greatest challenges. They saw new forms of energy eliminating scarcity, quantum communications bringing species closer together, and technology that could heal planets ravaged by industrial exploitation. "This is what we're offering," Sarah concluded. "Not dominance, but partnership. Not control, but understanding. The question is, are you ready to admit that maybe, just maybe, humanity has something valuable to contribute?" The ship hummed with approval, its quantum field embracing the chamber in a gentle reminder of what was possible when prejudice was set aside and new ideas were embraced. High Counselor Vextra rose slowly, their scales shifting through colors that indicated deep thought. Perhaps, they said carefully, we were premature in our assessment of humanity's potential. That's one way to put it, Maya muttered, though not quietly enough. We accept your proposal for partnership, Vextra continued, ignoring the comment. Though I suspect the galaxy will never be quite the same. Sarah smiled, feeling the ship's satisfaction merging with her own. That counselor was entirely the point. Sometimes the best way to move forward is to completely rewrite the rules. As they left the council chamber, returning to their quantum vessel that had become so much more than a ship, Sarah reflected on how far they'd come. The council had tried to put humanity in its place with a gift of garbage. Instead, they'd given humanity exactly what it needed: a challenge, a mystery, and a chance to prove what humans did best: turn the impossible into possibility. The Prometheus Unbound welcomed them home, its quantum field embracing them like an old friend. As they prepared to depart, its hull shifting through infinite possibilities, Sarah knew they'd only begun to explore what they could achieve together. After all, in a quantum universe, anything was possible. You just had to be human enough to see it.